Hello, news and physios. I am your devotee physiotherapist, and today I am here to teach you anatomy. Not just teach you anatomy, let's learn anatomy together. So, before going to anatomy, I want to share what is joint, what is human joint. So, today's topic is about human joint. So, first we have to know what is joint. Just simply, if we say a joint is the part of our body where two or more bones meet and allowing for movement. In our term, it is also known as articulation. In the human skeleton has two joints, and among them around 200 bones are connected by the joints. Basically, two type of joints are there. One is simple joint and another is complex joint. Okay, so what is simple joint? Simple joint usually have more stability, and simple joints are having stability is their primary function, but at the same time the complex joint usually have more mobility, and they can't completely sacrifice stability, which is referred as dynamic stability. So stability joints may be contoured either to fit into each other or to lie flat against each other with relatively little motion. For emphasizing mobility, additional structural elements are there such as joint capsule, ligaments, and accessory structures. So now we will proceed to the classification of the joints. Basically, it is divided on the basis of structure of joint and amount of movement. Mainly, three types of joints are there in our body. First is fibrous joint, second is cartilaginous joint, and third one is synovial joint. This type with each referring to the connective tissue that binds the bony elements together with presence or absence of synovial cavity. Means these three types of joint may or may not have the synovial cavity, or it is not necessary to all joints are connected with the cartilaginous structure or the connective tissue. In the joint categorized into synoarthrosis, amphiarthrosis, and diarthrosis. Three types are there, which refers to the degree of movement a joint affords. What is synarthrosis joint? Synarthrosis means having little or no movement. Synarthrosis means maybe the joint is having a little movement or no movement. Then second is amphiarthrosis, which is having minimal to moderate movement. Then last one is diarthrosis, which have free movement, that is in all direction. And the joints are little movements in arthrosis, typically united by fibrosis tissue. And second one is amphiarthrosis, which is having mild to moderate movement, are typically directed by hyaline cartilage or fibrocartilage. Then those who are having movement in all direction, they are united by synovial joint structure. First one is fibrous joint. In this type of joint, the bones are joined together by fibrous interosseous connective tissue, which creates a solid connective tissue interface that allows a little movement or no movement. This joint basically seen in our skull. And the frontal bone, the parietal bone, the temporal bone, these bones are connected with each other, and these joints are called as fibrous joints, because minimum to minimum and no movement are there. Section of skull bones are called as sutures. Example: frontal bone, parietal bone, and temporal bone. And gomphases are the tooth, single tooth are connected with mandible. This joint is called as gomphases. And syndesmosis is in between distal tibia and fibula. So next category is cartilaginous joint. Cartilaginous joint, in this type of joint, the bony component are connected by hyaline cartilage or fibrous cartilage. This creates a bone cartilage bone interface, which allows some little bit amount of movement in this joint. So two types of cartilaginous joints are there. First is symphysis and synchondrosis. In symphysis type of cartilaginous joint, two bony components are covered. The two bony components are covered with a thin lamella of hyaline cartilage and joined by fibrocartilage in the form of disc or parts. Means the discs are present in our vertebra, intervertebral joints, discs are there. Example: intervertebral joints. And next example is a joint between manubrium and body of sternum. Next is symphysis pubis in the pelvis. The second type, that is in synchondrosis type of cartilaginous joint, the hyaline cartilage connects two bony components. Example: the first seventh ribs of the thorax. The first seventh ribs are connected with the body of sternum by this joint. It also refers to hyaline cartilage bond between two ossification centers of bone in developing skeleton. Then this is the last one, and it is known as synovial joint. It is completely different from the other two types of joints. And in this type, the bones are indirectly connected with one another. But the bony components are connected with each other by a fibrous synovium lined joint capsule that encloses the joint. Example: elbow joint, knee joint, etc. So all the synovial joints are structured in a similar manner and have some common features like joint cavity, fibrous joint capsule which covers the joint cavity or surrounds the joint. The next is synovial membrane, lines the inner surface of fibrous capsule. The next is hyaline cartilage, which covers the articular surface of the contiguous bone. Next is synovial fluid, which forms a film over the joint surface. Then is next is capsule, and associated structures like capsular ligament. Capsular ligament it reinforces the capsule. Next is bursa. Bursa is to reduce to decrease the friction between the two bony structures. Then next is disc, plates, labrum. They are cushioning structures. They provide joint stability. And last is fat pad. They act like a cushion to the joint. Their function is a cushioning structure. Then again synovial joint is classified into different types. Basically, first is plain joint, second is ball and socket type of joint, next is condyloid or ellipsoid joint, next is saddle type joint, then hinge type joint, then pivot joint. Again it is categorized into on the basis of axis and planes. So on the basis of number of axes about which goes visible rotatory motion at the joint occurs. First is uniaxial, second is biaxial, and third is multiaxial. In uniaxial type, it is also known as uniplanar. So it is having it is with visible rotation of the bony component in one plane around only a single axis. So it is having only 1 degree of freedom. The hinge type and the pivot type of joint are included here. In hinge type, example is humero-ulnar joint, and is pivot type, the example is proximal radio-ulnar joint. Hinge type is only single movement is allowed here. So degree of freedom is only 1, and it is similar to the pivot joint also. Next category is biaxial, which is also known as biplanar joint. So it is having visible rotation of the bony components in 2 planes around 2 axes. That is, the degree of freedom is only 2. So condylar joint, or it is otherwise known as ellipsoid joint, and saddle type of joint are involved in biaxial joint. So radiocarpal joint is the example of condylar joint or ellipsoid joint, and the first carpometacarpal joint, which is example of saddle joint. Next is triaxial or multiaxial joint, in which the bony components are free to rotate in 3 planes around 3 axes. So it is having 3 degree of motion. In this type, the plane joint, for example intercarpal joint, and the ball and socket type of joint like hip joint, shoulder joint, these are involved here. The examples of ball and socket joint are hip joint and knee joint. So in this video we learned about the human joint. For more update, like, share, follow to this YouTube channel, and never forget to subscribe. If you want the handwritten notes of these all topics, direct DM me on Instagram. Thank you for watching.